Hey everyone, this is WyrmsEye and welcome back to another episode of the Battle Spot Battery, our VGC Battle Spot series. Obviously we're into episode 5 now. We're still going to be running the London International team of William Tansley, an edited version featuring Tapu Koko, Raichu, Porygon2, Kartana, Salamence and Gigalith. But before we jump into the games today, if anyone hasn't already seen the videos from the Orpington Mid-Season Showdown that was hosted on Trainer Tower over the past weekend, please do go check them out. I'm going to be having a link in description down below. I was obviously commentating this Mid-Season Showdown along with a few others, including both Jay Blake and Shang Lo, two very experienced casters, as well as Adam Walker. Had such tremendous fun over the weekend, and have to give major props to Jamie Boyd as well for winning the mid-season with probably one of the most exciting teams that I think we saw across the weekend. So it'll be very good to see how well he takes that in the upcoming international championships being held in Sao Paulo in just over a couple of weeks' time. In addition to that, this is probably going to be our penultimate episode with the team that we see down below. As I said before, I've got a team in mind that I want to be taking going forward into next week. I've also got the episodes that I want to post-commentate with the recordings that I didn't have any audio with, so they should be coming hopefully sometime in the next few days, possibly as late as next Monday. But do keep an eye out for those. I'm going to have at least one recording put up, and that should be coming shortly. But let's jump onto the ladder with this team. We've not been doing too badly with it in the episodes that we've been recording. I think we're 7-1 with the team so far. We started at a rating of 1633 today, as I'll just find some music while I'm thinking about it. And it's been going so well so far, and I think this is more because of the team's ability to work consistently, as well as it being a comfort pick, and it's not too difficult to run. It's not asking for too many different facets to go with the team, as we do see an opponent rated 1658 from Japan running a team of Hariyama, Incineroar, Mimikyu, Torkoal, Slowbro and Snorlax. So a very heavy Trick Room team that we see here. We do know that the Mimikyu and the Slowbro are most likely going to be its Trick Room setters. We also do see two Fake Out users in the form of Hariyama and Incineroar. So I think Gigalith is going to be very important here. Obviously it will underspeed the majority, if not all, of my opponent's team. We do have to be somewhat wary of the Torkoal though, because if it does get up its sunlight, it does mean that there is the potential to use solar beams in the sun, which could be very devastating for our Gigalith. But we'll try to lead off here, and I do feel that the standard leader Tapu Koko and Raichu is going to be a very safe one here. And that's mostly because we'll be able to fake out whatever my opponent brings onto the field that's not his Trick Room setter. So we're also going to bring Gigalith here as well. And I think for our last, we will want Kartana as well. Again, it does reasonably well against most of our opponent's team. It's mostly there for the Snorlax, because the Sacred Sword will do a considerable amount of damage, even despite Snorlax's general bulkiness. But we will be getting into this game here, and hopefully our lead matchup will be somewhat favourable. I'm expecting this first turn that he's going to lead something along the lines of Mimikyu and Hariyama, which wouldn't be too bad for us. Gives us an opportunity to fake out the Hariyama, and obviously then Volt Switch into our Gigalith in the back, but we do actually see Incineroar rather than the Hariyama. But we do see the Mimikyu there, so we have to assume that Trick Room is going to be high on this thing's priority list. So, as I said before, I think the safest option we've got here is we're going to Volt Switch into the Mimikyu, and also go for the fake out onto the Incineroar. It's a very safe play, very standard play when we're trying to deal with Trick Room teams, because we want to get Gigalith in as quickly as possible in order to take full advantage of their own Trick Room. It's been kind of a facet of a general play for ours over the course of these videos, because of the way that we've encountered so many heavy Trick Room teams. As we do see the fake out go into the Incineroar, Volt Switch does go out onto the Mimikyu. This will break its disguise, more importantly, so we will be able to inflict some damage onto it on the upcoming turns, but we do get the Volt Switch off, which is important. And we're now going to bring in Gigalith here. It's fairly safe at this moment in time, because if he does decide to Trick Room, Gigalith will underspeed both of his Pokemon on his side of the field. If he chooses not to, we may be able to take more advantage of that with our Raichu instead. But we do see the Trick Room, and we have managed to maintain excellent ball position on the field, as we do see the Sandstorm damage to over. So Gigalith is in a prime position now to inflict some decent damage onto both of my opponent's Pokemon. I feel that the safest play here is probably going to go for a Rock Slide. Like a Rock Slide and Protect is probably our safest play here. Obviously, he most likely has Torkoal held in the back, so we've got to be somewhat careful coming into the future turns. But the Rock Slide is going to go on to both of my opponent's Pokemon. Both actually surviving pretty well. Darkest Lariat into the Raichu, so going into our Protect, as the Mimikyu reverses the Trick Room here. So our opponent, obviously understanding that we've tried to make better use of his own Trick Room, which is kind of ironic because we've still got a decent position with our Raichu being the fastest thing on the field with the electric terrain up. So our opponent is kind of caught between two rather difficult options. We both outspeed and underspeed everything that his team can throw at us. With that in mind, I am going to just Heavy Slam into the Mimikyu and Thunderbolt into the Incineroar here. I think it's fairly safe. The Incineroar can't really do much, as the Mimikyu does withdraw into the Hariyama. So obviously trying to get some fake out pressure on his own, as we do see that the Thunderbolt comes out onto the Incineroar. This will pick up the knockout. So we take a 4-3 lead, but our opponent has very cleverly managed to position himself a lot better going into this next turn. Does the Hariyama have a Flame Orb on it? No. Okay, so it still may be a Guts Hariyama that we have to deal with. As we also see that our opponent's last Pokemon is a Snorlax. So the Snorlax is probably more free to go for the fake outs. I think the safest play for me to make here is go for a Rock Slide. And if the Hariyama chooses not to fake out here, we're going to get a Shattered Psyche off onto the Hariyama slot. This will pick up the knockout, which will be important for us. It's all really down to what the Snorlax does, as the Hariyama does fake out into the Gigalith slot though, obviously perceiving that as a major threat, as our Shattered Psyche is going to come out onto the Hariyama, and this will pick up the knockout, no questions asked. So we will be taking most likely a 4-2 lead going into the next turn against his Snorlax and Mimikyu, but obviously Snorlax Free to put some damage onto our Pokemon that are out, or potentially go for a belly drum, as we do see it's hammering and it is going to maximise its attack stats, but it does have its 50% berry, the gluttony ability proving really important there, as it's a figgy berry that we see prop. So Raichu is going to take some further damage, as is Snorlax. We're still not in a terrible position here. The Mimikyu is obviously probably the most important thing that we need to take down on our side of the field, because if it manages to set up a Trick Room, the Snorlax will be a huge threat. We still do have our Tapu Koko and the Kartana in the back, so even if we take a double knockout here on our side of the field, we should be well poised to clean up the rest of the game, as long as we can remove the Mimikyu from play here. So with that in mind, I'm going to Stone Edge the Snorlax and Thunderbolt the Mimikyu. The Mimikyu may opt to protect, but it's actually going to go for a Shadow Sneak to our Raichu. It does massive damage actually, and actually picks up the knockout. So something I didn't really consider there. The Snorlax only elects to Rock Slide here. As you can see, +6, it's doing massive damage, but we do get our Stone Edge off. It does connect, doing relatively solid damage onto our opponent's Snorlax there. I'm torn between whether to bring in Tapu Koko and try to go for a Thunderbolt onto the Snorlax, or whether to opt to go for Kartana here. I think the Tapu Koko is probably a better option. But I'm not 100% sure on the calculation on a Choice Specs T-Bolt into the Snorlax. I figure it should pick up the knockout here, but it's not obviously going to be... It could be quite close, which is what is concerning me. Because if we remove Snorlax from play, the Mimikyu will be very easy to deal with. I am just going to heavy slam into the Mimikyu here, and I am going to go for the Thunderbolt onto the Snorlax. I think this should pick up the knockout, but we will be cutting it quite close, as we do see another Shadow Sneak into the Tapu Koko here. Maybe banking on the fact that we may have a Focus Sash, as Snorlax does just go for a Rock Slide, so we could be able to do serious jumps here, as the Tapu Koko actually survives. So we will bring in our Kartana here. So the Bolt that we have on Tapu Koko proving really vital. But we now do put enough pressure where we can simply Sacred Sword into the Snorlax, and we can Thunderbolt the Mimikyu if we feel inclined to. I would imagine that the Mimikyu will go for a Shadow Sneak into the Tapu Koko regardless, but our opponent does actually forfeit there. He obviously realises that the Katana is in a brilliant spot. So, very close game there. We do manage to clutch it out with taking those early knockouts earlier in the game. And once again, we managed to get our Gigalith into our opponent's Trick Room. It seems to be a running theme of this team. And then our opponent kind of had to backtrack on himself, which is kind of funny. He then reversed his own Trick Room immediately the turn after. So we managed to sort of pin him in two different areas because our Raichu was also the fastest thing on the field with the electric terrain still up. So with that, we managed to take a game 1 win, and we'll look for another game very shortly. So we're now at a rating of 1650. We're climbing up, and we should be hopefully within the top 10 of the UK on the Battle Spot ladder. Obviously, if we can get to the 1700s before we finish this week with this team, we'll be doing quite well, as we see another Japanese rated opponent. A Japanese opponent with a rating of 1513, sorry. With a team of Pelipper, Golduck, Tapu Lele, Tapu Koko, Metagross, and the Alola Muck. So, we do see the very threatening rain mode in Pelipper and Golduck, Double Ducks as it's better known, but we also do see the Tapu Lele and the Tapu Koko. The Lele is probably the bigger threat of the two on the field. Mostly because it can shut down our electric terrain if our opponent decides not to lead with it or switch in, depending if the Lele is faster or not with a Scarf. I'm going to lead Raichu and Porygon2 here. There'll be a Gigalith in the back, and as our last... I feel like Kartana is a necessary evil here. This does mean that the Metagross could be an issue going forward. I don't have a Fire-type offense, which could be very useful for it. But I'm more concerned about trying to deal with the Double Duck lead. If he leads Pelipper Golduck, obviously we could be in for a difficult situation, as we see Golduck and Tapu Lele on the field versus Raichu and Porygon2. So we do see the Psychic Surge hit the field. And Porygon2's download boost gives it an attack raise, not very important in the long run. There's two ways that we can take this turn here. We can't obviously fake out either of my opponent's end because of the Psychic Terrain blocking priority moves, but we can try to pressure the Golduck. We obviously also do have Trick Room potentially on our side, which could be a major factor. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to go straight for a Shattered Psyche onto the Golduck. And I am going to also Trick Room with the Porygon2. It's very possible that a double target into that slot could knock out my Porygon2, but we see the Tapu Lele is actually Scarf going for a Shadow Ball into the Raichu slot. Not picking up the knockout though, does get a special defense fall, but not really important at this stage, as our Shadow Psychic does go out off from the Raichu. It will be going into the protecting Golduck, so it will be taking around about 25% damage, I would imagine, but the Psychic Terrain is going to be powered up, so as Golduck bounces off towards reality here and breaks through. It does about 35%, which is not too bad at all, as we do get our Trick Room up. So we now know that the Tapu Lele is Scarfed, so it is going to be the fastest thing on the field, and it's locked itself into Shadow Ball, so we are in not too bad of a position here. The Golduck is going to outspeed our Raichu this turn, but even if it takes the knockout, well, we won't be in a terrible position because of the way that the turn will play out. So what I'm going to do is I am going to Thunderbolt into the Golduck slot, and I am also going to Ice Beam into the Tapu Lele. Golduck may choose to switch out here, as we do see that, not really wanting to take any aggression, as the Metagross hits the field here for my opponent. Ice Beam from the Porygon2 does go out onto the Tapu Lele, doing about 25% damage, as the Thunderbolt does hit the Metagross. Again, about another 20 to 30%, as we do see the Shadow Ball finally take out our Raichu. The Metagross does pose a problem, obviously. I think I have to go for Gigalith though. So we do set the Sandstream up. It's not going to be too much of an issue. The question here is, does Metagross take the Earthquake? I imagine it will. But I don't really have a better option on the table. So we will just Earthquake and Ice Beam into the Tapu Lele slot here. My opponent's obviously, I would imagine, got the Golduck and the Pelipper in the back. As the Metagross does take about 50% damage there, critical hit onto the Tapu Lele, not the one that we could have done with the critical hit on, but the Tapu Lele is going to go down from this Ice Beam, so big threat taken out, as we do see the Meteor Mash from the Metagross onto the Gigalith does well over 75% health, I think, if my math is correct. But critically, we managed to get the Metagross into a position where it's not going to be particularly enjoying the following few turns. So how many Trick Room turns do we have? We have 2. So Meteor Mash is 90 base power, does 140. We may be able to take a Rock Slide here. We may be able to take a Bullet Punch here. It is going to be very close as a roll, but we actually just see the Metagross not let us do that. So Rock Slide coming out onto the Pelipper and the Metagross, doing sizable damage to the Pelipper, and the Ice Beam will pick up the KO onto the Metagross slot. That will take it off the field, and obviously Gigalith will survive for one more turn. Pelipper just elects to Scald into the Gigalith, removing it from play. So we're going to have to send out our Kartana here. We obviously do have the Focus Sash still intact, as we do see that our opponent brings out his Golduck as well. So it's the last turn of Trick Room here, and obviously the Pelipper is likely, I would imagine, to... this is difficult here, because I imagine that the Pelipper will want to Trick Room, to Tailwind here, to make sure that it outspeeds the Kartana on the following turn. Golduck is most likely going to protect though. The question is, do I want to... Yeah, I want to play into this, so I'm going to Ice Beam and Leaf Blade the Pelipper. If he double protects, that's not actually a bad play for us, because it just means that we... it allows our Kartana to outspeed his Pelipper on the following turn. So our Kartana will be faster than Pelipper, and we can secure the knockout that way. This means that we can go for a safe Trick Room on the Porygon2 and a Leaf Blade into the Pelipper slot. This will mean that unless the Golduck targets our Kartana, unless the Golduck actually knocks us out with a Hydro Vortex onto the Porygon2, that's the only way that this can go wrong. So let's see. So we do see the Hydro Vortex from our opponent here. Coming out from the Golduck, I would imagine it's probably going to be into the Porygon2 to try and stop the Trick Room that may be coming out. Yep. This shouldn't knock out the Porygon2 unless it's a critical hit. Porygon2 obviously very, very bulky with the EV Light, as our Leaf Blade does hit the Pelipper, securing the knockout, and we shall get a Beast Boost here. So now we're in the position where the Golduck can't really do anything. Our opponent... the double protect there really wasn't the correct play for our opponent. If he had attacked with the Golduck, he would have been in a much better position going into the following turn. Or, yeah, if he'd gone into the Golduck, yeah. So Golduck needed to attack that turn under the last turn of Trick Room, trying to bait us out of kind of guessing that he was going to protect there. Not to be, so we will pick up the win there, as our opponent does forfeit. So 2 wins again in today's episode against 2 pretty good teams and opponents. Our opponent did do the right thing by conserving his Golduck and his Pelipper in the back rather than leading. The only problem was, because we were able to get Trick Room out initially, we were able to play his team down to just the 2 that were left, and because of his double protect, it just meant that we were able to take the game more cleanly, because it meant that no matter what target the Golduck went for, if he Hydro Vortexed the Kartana, our Sash would have kicked in. And as we saw, the Porygon2 was able to take the Hydro Vortex from even about 70% health relatively cleanly. And even if he did knock it out, it still meant that we were able to secure the knockout onto Pelipper. He could have gone for a double protect there, which would have been a more sensible option, just to try and give him a bit more options going into the final few turns, but not to be. So we do take the win there, and so I think that shall be it for today. Please do leave a like, comment or subscribe. Really appreciate it if you would. As I say, the next episode will be the last with this team. We will probably have one further episode post-commentated by myself with this team, showcasing a couple of the teams that happened in the recordings that I didn't have any microphones, microphone audio with. But until then, and until next time, I will see you then. Goodbye for now.